Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, here hitting you with another brand spanking new review slash recap for Kamen Rider Geats. We are now on episode 30, goddamn 2. This is really shaping up to be probably one of my favorite Rider seasons. I really mean it. I'm not even trying to front. I'm not trying to joke. I'm not trying to prank anybody. It's just consistently good, and it continues to peel back the layers and add more surprising little story beats here and there, and I like it. It's not playing it safe. It's doing a lot of surprising things to kind of switch things up, and especially this episode. Um, so we ended off last episode with Buffa wanting Geats to fight, and telling him that he needs to. That you basically Tatsakai, like you fight to survive, blah blah blah. And Geats still reeling from the fact that his mother is the goddess of creation and that she's trapped that way. And so he's, I don't want to fight you, blah blah blah, and he keeps trying to push him into it. Well, Archimetal comes out of nowhere because now Archimetal was eaten in the last episode by his Jamato thing. His consciousness somehow kind of took over that Jamato, so now he's just a full Jamato thing and Archimetal, which I think is kind of cool. It's a way to keep him in the show still and still have him act. It's kind of like how they kept the one Prime Minister guy in Build around for longer of one of the other parts of Japan that got split up by the Skywall when Evolt took him over for a little bit, took over his face and all that shit, or changed somebody else into him, whatever it was. Anyway, so that happens, and Archimetal in his mega powerful Jamato form fights Geats and Buffa for a little bit. He eventually just fucks off and runs off, and they're getting close to the final round for this current game that they're in with the whole fate creation goddess and the holes in the ground and the twister and all of that. And so instantly Ace goes straight to Niram to confront him about his mother. He's like, I want to know everything that's going on. You need to tell me all the answers. What's going on with my mother? Where is she? Is she stuck as the creation goddess? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, well, if you want those answers, then you'd have to have a vision driver, and you still haven't gotten the other one. He's like, yeah, what about yours? I haven't forgotten about that. Why can't I just use yours real quick? I'll give it right back. And Niram, of course, doesn't do it because he's a little bitch. And I like him as like this secondary antagonist. It definitely feels more like Buffa's going to be our primary for at least a little while coming up here. But I like him as this secondary antagonist that isn't nearly as like completely obsessed with Geats' defeat as Jirori was, but definitely doesn't want to help him either and wants to continue the show as long as he can. Which again, I kind of enjoy. So they're going back and forth, whatever. And Buffa still has this few little scenes here and there with Baraba and Archimetal. Archimetal talking about how he doesn't really give a shit anymore. He's evolved to a new state, and he wants to be able to win because it's for the Jamato, and only I can create their perfect world, and blah blah blah. And Michinaga essentially confronts Baraba, basically saying like that's also funny. Archimetal calls Baraba a Baba, which is like a hag or an old lady witch, and she's like, because clearly that's not what she really looks like. Gene has confirmed this. Many people have confirmed this, that it's not what she really looks like. And so he confronts, Michinaga confronts Baraba saying, you're using me. I know you are completely, but you're not, by the way. Like, I'm fully aware of it, and I'm only working with you to my own end. I'm not going to be a tool for anybody. Which, again, I like about Michinaga, but at the same time, I wish this would have come a little sooner and would have had more of this come out as we go. I also wish perhaps he would have opened his mouth and talked to anybody about, hey, as far as I saw it and the way that I know, my best friend / basically boyfriend, Toru, was murdered by Kamen Riders. I feel like blaming all the Kamen Riders, but like, you guys didn't have anything to do with it, did you? Did you just talk to somebody? Again, I like the idea behind him and his arc is like what anger and like grief can do to you when you let it consume you and you don't even attempt to try and solve it or like talk to anybody about it. I think that's unique and that's good for like a rider to have in general. It's very different from Baron. He's not really entirely Baron, but just has little shades of it. But I wish that came a little sooner. But this end of this episode does set up some really unique things. So Gene also comes back into the picture because Geats is still kind of like not sure what to do. He's kind of hopeless, whatever. And Gene kind of peps him back up and says, there's a reason I'm your supporter. Like, this is unlike you. Like, yeah, sure, it seems hopeless, but who cares? Don't give up. Like, keep fighting, keep moving forward. You'll find a solution. You always do. And he mentions that the little gold coin things that Ace has one of, we saw the little Roman coin, is from one of the very first DGPs. When they first started, it was just a straight out battle royale, kick the shit out of each other for money. Well, then once the creation goddess became a part of it, then they, reformatted it into what we know of now, where only one person gets to win and blah, blah, blah. But he does confirm that, yes, technically people's happiness are sacrificed to create, the happiness for somebody else. You know what I mean? From what we got from last episode. Which, is still pretty dark and pretty messed up. That's where it comes from. But it would have been too easy for this wish-granting power to just be easy to get to with no sacrifice for it and no negative side or downside to it. So I like that they're still honing in on it and talking about that. But we do get Gene actually transforming and fighting and helping. He fights Archimedo for a little bit, fights against Buffa for a while. Buffa and Geats finally have their big, fated battle. Geats actually feigns defeat, actually, by Buffa. At one point, it's really cool. There's a part in their fight choreography I really, you know me, and you know how much I love the fights in these fucking shows. But there's a point I really zeroed in on, a lot of people did, is that he's fighting him, and he goes to use the, the zombie ripper chainsaw thing that he always uses with zombie buckle. And he pushes it back at him and uses the, charge he's using to hit him to hit Buffa with it instead. It was really cool. But he beats Geats, except that Geats instantly gets up and shoots him with the, Magnum, 40X, whatever, and gets the Vision Driver. Goes to the creation goddess, realizes it really is his mother. So much so confirmed when he tries to talk to her, and Niram says, you can't do that, blah, blah, blah. She has trapped her, she's ours, blah, blah, blah. And he says something that basically pisses her off, and you hear her cry, essentially. And so that confirms it to Geats. This was truly his mother, and that, he is a creation of the creation goddess, yes, and that he needs to free her. That's his next goal. And so he actually ends up fighting Gazer. Gazer fully transforms, and at first he's kind of handling Geats, which kind of bothered me, because I feel like Geats, out of anybody, would be the one to get a few hits in. But even in Boost Mark 2, he's not able to fully get to him. At one point, he's able to, kinda, because he takes one of the little, observation ball things, and, has it, so he's, off-kilter by a little bit, and is able to get it hit in. And it's so cool when he does it. It's so fucking awesome. Again, the fight choreography is out of this fucking world in the show. I love it so much. It's so flashy. It's so good. But him and Niram are fighting. Gazer are fighting. Jean ends up throwing the laser Raise Riser to him, because he ends up taking it from him to use it for a while, because, Geats is kind of given up and is in this melancholy kind of state. And he falls through one of the holes. And as he's falling, he gets thrown the laser Raise Riser, becomes, Laser Boost Mark 2. And him and Niram fight down there. In the middle of doing that, this whole fucking DBZ-ass fight they're doing, fucking key blast and shit, pretty much. In comes Buffa with the upset. He uses the zombie buckle and uses the thing with his feet with it, where he does, along with the vines from the Jamato buckle, goes underground, gets them, and grabs them, and throws them through the hole. Geats and Niram through the hole and into the sky and into bubbles. They're gone. I mean it, they're gone. They're out. And so Buffa wins. He becomes the Jamaity. So now we've gone from the Desire Grand Prix to the Jamato Grand Prix. Now it's changing again to the Desire Royale. If you remember, that was in the movie with the Power Builder rider and that as well. So now it's known as the Desire Royale. And the whole point is all-out fights between the riders, basically. And Buffa in the next episode shows having the Fever Buckle, getting his Fever form. Looks really cool. He has a full-on cape and the horns are longer. It's really cool. He's going to get an upgrade pretty soon. As far as we know from confirmed toy listings, he's going to get his own upgrade final form type thing coming pretty soon. As is our boy Kawa, as well as his Tycoon Shogun, I think. So anyway, he beats them. Totally upsets and is able to, defeat Gazer and Geats, and is able to win finally. So I thought this was pretty shocking, and honestly, I was waiting for there to be a last minute upset, and it didn't happen. It was very surprising to me. Next week also shows Jean still a part of things. It also shows Ben and John transforming. Hopefully, we haven't seen their confirmed suits yet, so people are really worried they're going to get wiped out before they even get to fully henshin. We've seen their henshin poses clearly, but we've never seen their full helmets and their entry forms even yet. Because last time it was a flashback and it cut off right before that. So, yeah, this was a pretty shocking episode. I was really impressed they were willing to do this, and that this is setting up the next little arc here that might be going in close to the end game, you know, with Buffa as the main villain right now. I still think Barabo will be a threat and Niram as well. I'm not sure who I really see as going to be like final villain, but it might be a mix of the three of them, you know, the two of them plus Buffa. But this is really cool. I like this. I kind of do sometimes get like a dark kick out of it when our hero fails, even though we know Geats isn't really gone. Because there's Boost Mark 3 and Boost Mark 9 and his final form and whatever it is coming forward. But we do get it confirmed because Kayla's sister Sarah also survived the match. So in the next episode, it does show somebody with a completely completely new rider that looks similar to Tycoon. Have it confirmed in magazine scans now. It is Sarah, and now known as Kamen Rider. I think it's Hafubi, something like that. Some other kind of raccoon-esque, you know, adjacent, you know, little creature that she transforms into for her like motif. So yeah, we see her and she's using the claw buckle and doing stuff. So I hope she doesn't get taken out too soon. Takahashi has a problem of not writing women characters the best, but he did a decent job with Neon. I hope Neon is not out of it entirely. I also wonder how this reset affects things. If people still, who did know, still know about Neon and her true identity as, you know, not really being the real daughter, or if they do or they don't, I don't know. But yeah, so next week's looking to be a pretty awesome episode too. This next episode should be, I think there'll be this one this week, but I'm not 100% sure. I think there was something somebody mentioned excuse me, on Toku Twitter about Superhero Time might be delayed by a week because of something going on in Japan, but I don't know. Golden Week or something, I don't know. But a really good episode. Like I said, this is a lot of twists and turns, a lot of really great, you know, meaty character interactions, some really great conversations between Jean and Ace, talking about things and kind of pepping him up and bringing him out of his funk and stuff like that. Good stuff building up Michinaga. And again, I really like going forward, this setting up a new precedent where we're going. I like that we're changing things up like this again. I think it works for the aesthetic of the show, and I like that we're doing this to kind of see what would happen if Buffa had ever won before. This is what he would have gone for. I do hope, like I said, Ben and John get their full henshin sequence and we see their full form with their helmets and everything, just because Tom Constantine and the guy that plays both of them, both actors deserve it, honestly. It'd be so fucking cool to see them do it. And just in general, I'm really excited to see what this next episode, the next arc brings. I'm really excited about it, especially with a new form for Buffa that he's supposed to be getting, some Mao form or something like that. This Tycoon Shogun form, somehow Kayla's going to come back into it, and he's getting his final form. Supposedly Neon is as well. The Power Builder Rider guy is supposed to be coming back into it using the Fantasy Buckle finally, and that's going to be eventually given to Kayla for accessing his Shogun, you know, form for his final form. But yeah, overall a really fantastic episode. Really enjoyed it top to bottom. Probably would give it probably a strong 9 out of 10, only because I do think the pacing was a little fast, and I wish there was a bit more. I wish it didn't take as long as it did to pull Ace out of his stupor he was in. I think that worked, but I think it just overstayed its welcome a little bit. But then it also set him up for making a very human mistake of not even thinking about where Buffa was while he was fighting Gazer, which led to their downfall, clearly. But I'm really excited for what this brings for the show, changing up the status quo and all of that good stuff. But let me know in the comments below, what did you guys think of this week's episode of Geats? Geats and Gazer losing, Buffa winning, more information about the original first ever round of the DGP and how that worked, and going forward, what's going to happen in this next arc with, you know, Jamaity Buffa here. Anyways, as always, thank you so much for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, watching, all of that good stuff. I really, really do appreciate it so much. But as always, stay hooked on heroes. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.